Friction: when surfaces slide and tend to slide over one another, a force of friction acts. When you apply a force on the object, friction usually reduces the net force and the resulting acceleration. Friction is caused by the irregularities in the surfaces in mutual contact, and it depends on the kinds of material and how much they are passed together. Even surfaces that appear to be very smooth have microscopic irregularities that obstruct motion. Atoms cling together at many points of contact. When one object slides against another, it must either rise over the irregular bumps or else scrapes atoms off. Either way requires force. The direction of the friction force is always in the direction that opposes motion. An object sliding down an incline expert experiences friction directed up in the incline. An object that slides to the right experiences friction toward the left. Thus, if an object is to move at constant velocity, a force equal to the opposing force of friction must be applied so that the two forces exactly cancel each other. The zero net force then results in zero acceleration and constant velocity. No friction exists on a crate that sits at rest on a level floor. But if you push the crate horizontally, you will disturb the contact forces and surfaces friction is produced. How much? If the crate is still at rest, then the friction that opposes motion is just enough to cancel your push. If you push horizontally with, say, 70 newtons, the friction builds up to become 70 newtons. If you push harder, say 100 newtons, and the crate is now on the verge of sliding, the friction between the crate and floor opposes your push with 100 newtons. If 100 newtons is the most of the surfaces can master, then when you push a bit harder, the climbing gives way and the crate slide. Interestingly, the friction of sliding is somewhat less than the friction that builds up before sliding takes place. Physicists and engineers distinguish between static friction and sliding friction. For given surfaces, static friction is somewhat greater than sliding friction. If you push on a cart, it takes more forces to get it on going than to keep it sliding. Before the time of anti-lock brake systems, slamming on the brakes of a car was quite problematic. When tires lock, they slide, provided less friction than if they are made to roll to a stop. A rolling tire does not slide along the road surface, and the friction is static friction with more grab than sliding friction. But once the tires start to slide, the friction force is reduced. Not a good thing. An anti-lock brake system must keep the tires below, and the threshold of braking loses into a slide. It's also interesting that the force of friction does not depend on speed. A car skidding at low speed has approximately the same friction as the same car speeding at high speed.